This video is sponsored by Racketon. Today I'm transforming 50 of the most famous video games into LEGO, from some of the all-time classics to modern ones, so let's get into it. We'll start with one of the originals, Tetris, which has sold a whopping 100 million copies since 1984, making it the third highest selling video game ever. I started by collecting a ton of jumper plates that I used to create all of the classic shapes before setting up this bordered box for all of them to fit into, and it's really satisfying to lay down all the shapes and their different possibilities. Next up, Mario, along with his brother Luigi, together being the Super Mario Bros. LEGO has released sets based on the two of them, but never minifigures unfortunately. Mario's hat is a bit more accurate than Luigi's, but with their mustaches and overalls, they're still pretty recognizable. While we're at it, we might as well give both of them Mario Karts to ride in since that's one of their most popular series. But Luigi kinda just looks like a farmer on a John Deere tractor. If you're dying to get your hands on a Mario minifigure, you can get this Connects version. It's not the exact same, but it's still kind of LEGO compatible. Sports games have been around since the beginning, so I made those too. Representing the Madden franchise, I've included this football player who has black face markings, but is using this rugby ball because LEGO has never actually released a football piece. Representing the NBA, I've made this custom Michael Jordan minifigure, along with this basketball goal. He's on fire! Unfortunately, he was never released when LEGO was releasing official NBA minifigures and sets. This is a minifigure version of Lionel Messi, who's been on the cover of a ton of FIFA games, and I can't help but think this jersey may have been based on his team colors. Tiger Woods is up next for the PGA Tour games, where he was the mascot for over 15 years. He has this cool golf club piece that only ever came with one minifigure, and I also gave him this golf cart to ride around in. Racing games like Gran Turismo, Forza, NASCAR Rumble, and Need for Speed are just a few of the biggest racing series, so I've included a couple of these Speed Champion minifigures, along with James Bond's Aston Martin and this Mini Cooper for them to ride in. And last for sports, but certainly not least, we have Tony Hawk, whose Pro Skater series of games is one of the most celebrated and highly regarded of all time. As a kid, I spent countless hours completing challenges on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. The Legend of Zelda is up next, and for it, I built up this huge Master Sword mosaic that has the classic sword placed inside of this monument. On it, you can see the Triforce, as well as details on the sword's blade and handle. I made it using this pixel art pattern. This is my version of Ezio from the Assassin's Creed franchise. He has this awesome hood piece and hidden blade, along with Gandalf the White's torso and old Luke Skywalker's legs. He's one of my favorite for today's video. Back when the Nintendo DS released, Nintendogs was huge, selling 24 million copies, making it the second highest selling video game franchise for the system, meaning that it sold more copies than even Pokemon Diamond and Pearl and Black and White. So for it, I made this dog lover minifigure and surrounded her with this pack of LEGO dogs, which are a ton of fun to collect. Speaking of Pokemon, this is my version of Ash Ketchum, or Trainer Red if you're referring to the games. He's equipped with a Pokeball, as well as this micro build for Bulbasaur. If you enjoy Pokemon, you may be interested in watching this video, where I made other things from the series like this Pokedex. Although it's past its prime, Fortnite has still been a huge game for the past 5 years, so I'm using the skeleton minifigure to represent this skin from the game, and he's equipped with this pickaxe and rifle so that he can chop down trees and build stuff. And PUBG is another insanely popular battle royale game, so I made this guy, who's basically the mascot at this point. For his helmet, you can use this welder's mask, but I ended up going with a chrome helmet with a red visor, which I like the look of a bit better. Call of Duty is up next with this group of soldiers that are decked out with a ton of custom guns and camouflage pieces. We have a sniper, a bomb squad guy, as well as the stealth soldier. And they can also work as soldiers from other games like Medal of Honor and Battlefield. My favorite game mode in Call of Duty is Zombies, where you can get a ton of awesome weapons to fight off the hordes, with one of the best being the ray gun. And if you have this retro spaceman, his gun is perfect for it. I also built up this boarded window for the zombies to break through. Every once in a while, LEGO releases sets based on video games. They also released Overwatch sets. This is LEGO's official minifigure for D.Va, who came with this customizable gun piece. And this is their version of Reinhardt, who has the coolest helmet LEGO has ever made. LEGO released this minifigure of Shell from Portal. And with Minecraft being the #1 best-selling game of all time, I had to at least include Alex and Steve. LEGO also recently released a Pac-Man set, but it's $270, so I made my own smaller version of one of the game's classic maps. I used these quarter circle pieces to make Pac-Man. I also included some extra lives for him, as well as these fruit pieces and these ghosts. Next up, we have Samus from the Metroid Prime series, which turned out to be another one of my favorites for this series because I didn't even think she was possible to make at first. However, I did have to commit a LEGO atrocity. To make her arm cannon, I cut a minifigure hand to make this cylinder piece fit over it, but the final product is worth it. For another awesome female character, this is my version of Lara Croft from the Tomb Raider series that began its popularity way back in the days of the PS1. Her legacy would continue with games on other consoles, and she inspired the creation of other video game characters like Nathan Drake from Uncharted, and this is my version of him. Our next minifigure comes to us from the Fallout series, with this one based on the Brotherhood of Steel character that is featured on the cover of Fallout 3. He has these cool goggles and a gas mask. If after watching this video, you feel like buying some video games or LEGO sets of your own, you should definitely be using today's sponsor Racketon. Just last week, I placed a parts order on lego.com that I'm going to be using for upcoming videos, and Racketon saved me money on my order. And with today's prices, I'm looking to save as much as possible. Racketon is the largest cashback site, which partners with over 3,500 of the biggest name brands. My favorites include GameStop, the LEGO Store, eBay, Target, Walmart, and Best Buy. Racketon brings you coupons and promo codes all for free, so there's no reason not to save that extra cash. Using the Racketon app or the Chrome extension, you just click through links to your favorite retailers and then shop like normal. And the savings are even better for the next few days during Racketon's Big Stack event, where you can get 10% cash back on hundreds of brands. And it's even on LEGO and GameStop, but it only lasts until the 12th of July, and if you sign up by clicking the link in the description, you'll also get a $30 sign-up bonus once you spend $30. That's $30 of LEGO or video games, all for free by just signing up and using Racketon. Don't miss out and sign up today. This is my version of Cal Kestis from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. His hair isn't perfect, but the rest of him looks really good. Mortal Kombat is the most famous fighting game franchise of all time, so I had to make two of its most iconic characters, Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Scorpion has his chain with this spike, and Sub-Zero has this icy katana.
Get over here! Finish him!
While we're on the topic of ninjas, I made this one based off of the Ninja Gaiden series. I've always loved massive multiplayer online games, so I went back to the first I ever played, RuneScape, and made this knight minifigure that has a plain LEGO smile since the graphics in the game are pretty bad. The game was really fun because you could work on any skill you wanted to, like smithing, woodcutting, or even cooking. But if you were one of the cool kids in school and could afford a membership, you were probably playing World of Warcraft, so I made this Blood Elf minifigure for it. Another huge online game was Club Penguin, so I gathered up these LEGO ones and gave them an igloo where they can live. Unfortunately, I only have the ones with red eyes. If you enjoy online horror games, then you may have heard of Slender the 8 Pages, which I made this build for in my recent Worst Fears in LEGO video. During the 2000s, music games were all the rage, and one of the first games to kick off this trend was Dance Dance Revolution, so I decided to build one, complete with the bar on the back. Continuing this trend was other games like SingStar, where you'd sing into your game console with a special microphone. And then you'd get other games like Guitar Hero, and when you combine them all together and add a drum set, you had the best one of all, Rock Band. However, my favorite arcade game of all time is Galaga, so I made another mosaic of the classic spaceship that you get to play as. Fruit Ninja is another game that is available to play in arcades, so here's my simple build for it. Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 are probably the best Western games of all time, so I had to include John Marston from the series. He's equipped with 2 pistols, as well as this torso print that has extra bullets, and this leg piece with a holster. GoldenEye 007 was the 3rd highest selling video game on the Nintendo 64, only behind Mario 64 and Mario Kart. It sold even more copies than Legend of Zelda's Ocarina of Time. So I had to make James Bond for this list, and he has his signature pistol. This is Mega Man, whose arm blaster, unfortunately, uses the same technique that I used earlier on Samus. Once again, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Metal Gear Solid is another series that I've never played, but I've always thought Solid Snake looked really cool. For the minifigure, I decked him out with these straps, pouches, and weapons, including this custom belt piece. Now, back when the Wii released, it was an absolute phenomenon, selling to people who had never played video games in their lives. So instead of making this one for a specific game, I created this grandpa and grandma playing the Wii with their grandkids. I also included this minifigure representing the Wii Fit Trainer, and I gave her the balance board as well. I guess she's now a player in Super Smash Bros. Speaking of which, if you take a ton of the characters we've included so far, you have yourself a Super Smash Bros. Match. In my most famous vehicles video, I included this covered wagon that I based on the game Oregon Trail. One game that has stayed relevant in spite of being 12 years old now is Skyrim, so I had to make a LEGO version of Dovahkiin Dragonborn. Except for the missing horns, this minifigure is pretty accurate, and I also included these dragons to fight against him as well. Our next minifigure is Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil 4, originally released on the GameCube. These two minifigures are based on The Sims. They have crazy outfits since you can customize your clothing so much in the games, and they're struggling to take care of their babies while also having to go to the bathroom really bad.
Army Batar!
Because you built their house with no doors and it doesn't even have a roof. For our final video game, I have one more classic, Frogger. I started with this Lego frog, and then created this busy road for him to try to cross without getting smashed. But don't worry, if he dies, you can have a couple of extra lives. Thank you again to Racketon for sponsoring this video, and leave your favorite video games in the comments below.